I get excited about near-death experiences too because they are universally healing. They're everywhere. 4 to 15% of those who live in the world have had one. And it doesn't depend on the culture. These are being studied. There's ongoing research now that has 3,500 people that have shared their near-death experiences in 27 languages. And the same thing is happening everywhere. Those stages that are healing happen all over the world. There's an out-of-the-body experience where you leave behind this little narrow person who lives in this ego and flesh. There's a transformation where you move into this whole other realm, where you're in this realm of peace. You're in this realm of love, where you receive love from the loved ones who are there and who've died, from nature, and this being of light that just loves you infinitely. And often there's a review of your life and how does it look in the midst of all of this love that's pouring in and out of you. And then you're sent back, at least the ones that come back. And they're reluctant because they just want to stay there. There's been so much love and healing, they want to just stay. But those who come back healed. They're real different. And this is again across the cultures that changes. First, they don't have any fear of death. There's so much love there, they're ready to go back. And the second thing is, if they're here, there's all that love pouring into them. They're interested in spirituality, how to grow in love. They'll often leave the religions that are less than loving. They want to give this love to others. One of the big marks is they have compassion. And they can take it in for themselves. Their whole self-image changes. They can love themselves and care for themselves.
Lee and I had an experience last summer that really convinced us. Our son John had a friend named Aaron. They had been friends since babyhood. Aaron's family are our neighbors, and so our boys grew up together. Last summer, Aaron had an accident on his mountain bike. He went into a coma. He never came out of it, and he died 5 days later. He was 15 years old. His family called us to be with them in the hospital. And by the time we got there, he was virtually brain dead. And they had to decide to take him off of life support. It was a very difficult decision. They knew from the first moment they saw him in the emergency room, they knew that he wasn't in his body anymore. But still, it was so hard for them to let him go. And what would help them to move was that they had many signs that Aaron was still with them, only in a different way. For example, his brother and sister were having dreams in which Aaron seemed to be guiding these quite complicated medical decisions that needed to be made. His friends all over, including in another country, were having experiences of his presence, or they were having dreams. They didn't know yet about the accident. And the consistent message was, I'm still here and I'm okay. That's what Aaron was trying to say. Because by then we were familiar with near-death experience, and we knew this territory a bit and that these things happen all the time, we could encourage the family to trust these stories and to take them in. And as they did so, they began to let go. And finally, when we sensed that the time was right, we invited everybody to gather around Aaron's bed, to take his hand or touch his face, and to tell him first what they loved about him, and secondly, how they wanted him to be with them from now on and continue to take care of them. After everyone had done that, the energy of the whole situation shifted. It was quite dramatic. And it was as if everyone knew now that the best way to stay connected to Aaron was to let him go. He was donating his organs. They knew that's what he wanted. And so we all went into the operating room together. They took out the tubes and we watched him die. Denny sensed him up above the doorway, and it was as if Aaron was watching us watch him die. Then the family asked us to do the memorial service, and they wanted it at the school that Aaron attended with our son John. there were 1,000 people, and they were in all different stages of shock and grief, and it's quite a diverse community. So we basically guessed what to do, and our guess was, it worked in the hospital, let's do it here. So we pretty much replicated what we had done. We spoke about how close the deceased are to us. We gave some reference to near-death experience. We told a couple stories of things that had happened that indicated how near Aaron was. And then we led people in getting in touch with their love for him, telling him from their heart how they loved him, and asking him to be with them in whatever way they wanted, however they wanted him to continue to take care of them. Evidently, we guessed right, because even now, months later, people still come up to us, strangers, and they say, "Thank you so much for that service. It meant so much to me." And people continue to have experiences of Aaron's presence. The family, his friends, it's happened to us. And they talk about this. And so it's as if that service opened a door for the community and made it safe to listen to these experiences, to trust them, and to share them. So our experience was that near-death experience could help a whole community to grieve. And we believe it can help us with many other issues in spiritual companioning and pastoral ministry as well.
I think the easiest way to share what the near-death experience has meant to me is to tell you about my trip yesterday to Santa Fe. And what's really interesting about it is I've probably made that trip at least 50 times. But each time I really enjoy the trip. And I ask myself why. It's because there are so many memories along the road. You know, they're the 14ers that we've climbed as a family, they're the streams that we have rafted, the lakes that we've fished. It's almost like I know exactly what's going to happen when I turn the next curve. There's so many memories, but here's the interesting thing. It's not just that I experience that, but people who have near-death experiences experience the same thing. Yeah, they experience mountains and streams. They experience butterflies and deer, the same things that we have here, they experience, and they have so many memories connected with them. What they understand is, I've been here before. This is my home. This is where I was before I was born. Now, that to me is pretty surprising, because I always imagine the other side as being something spiritual, like it couldn't include mountains and streams and rivers. But now I'm beginning to wonder if the reason that I enjoy the beauties of nature so much is because I'm remembering where I was before I was born, and also where I'm going. Now, if that's true, then it makes sense to me that in the life review, we're remembering all the beauties of nature that have accompanied us and our impact on them. You know, Matt just said that in the life review, we're not just inside our own skin, but inside of every person, even the strangers. Well, some near-death people have told us that they're also inside the soil, the water, the air, plants, and animals.
Every stage of the near-death experience is healing, because it all opens us up to love. But the one that really does that for me when I look at the stages is especially the life review. You're in all this surrounded by all this love, and you look at your life in the light of that. So you see where you've been hurt, where you've hurt another. You experience how you are forgiven where you've hurt others. You experience that forgiveness toward others who have hurt you. It's transforming.